If you're over 40 and still on the fence about whether or not collagen really does anything for our tendons, then this is the video you've been waiting for. Two new studies finally demonstrate that tendons at our age struggle to respond to training signals, and how the right form, dose, and timing of collagen can potentially fix that. So if you want your tendons to actually benefit from the work that you're already doing, then stay with me. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Dr. Hunter. I am a chiropractic physician and a lifelong lifter with a background in metabolic health and have years of clinical experience treating musculoskeletal conditions. And despite all of that, I still managed to rip my left distal bicep clean off the bone last year. But that forced me down a research rabbit hole on tendon remodeling and why tendon injuries are so common in middle-aged lifters. The results have been eye-opening and I feel compelled to share them with you. So this is tendon video number 4. Now in video 3, I hope I made it clear that mechanical loading is the primary driver of tendon remodeling. If you want to make a tendon stronger and more durable, then you have to signal the tendon to start reorganizing itself and begin replacing old collagen with new collagen. And that means methodically and progressively placing safe amounts of mechanical tension on the tendon over the course of several months. That is non-negotiable. So if you haven't seen this video, watch it after this one, because I'll have it linked at the end. Now I think this goes without saying, but if you want to rebuild a structure, obviously you have to supply the raw materials to do it, right? And in the case of the tendons, we are essentially looking for the building blocks of collagen. And to keep it simple, those building blocks are a sequence of 3 amino acids: glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline. But rather than just having those aminos laying around waiting for something to happen, we can profoundly increase their utility by ingesting them in a strategic way. If done correctly, those aminos will literally signal the body to start producing more collagen. Collagen synthesis. We use signals to get the attention of the stem cells within the tendon to start looking for those building blocks, and then create another signal so they start using them. That is when the tendon will finally begin to start turning over and gradually create a stronger structure over time. Here's the thing about signals though. They have to be heard. And unfortunately, the evidence is depressingly clear that by middle age, those stem cells progressively become more and more resistant to the signals from our normal, everyday bodybuilding style workouts with your typical 2 to 4 second repetitions. Because if that were enough, then all of us that have been lifting for 20 plus years would have tendons made of steel. And we don't. And that's because those signals are falling on deaf ears, which is why I stressed in the last video that specific high-intensity contractions for longer durations are what have been shown to create a louder signal, something above and beyond what the tendon usually experiences. Which is why I'm so excited about this new research, because as it turns out, the right form, dosage, and timing of collagen can literally rescue that signal. Those are their words. Rescue the signal from a regular bodybuilding style workout in a middle-aged man. That is us, and that is a big deal, because potentially every working set we do can actually be beneficial to the strength of the tendon. So let's jump right in. Now, people have already been implementing collagen into their diet for a long time. They read or saw somewhere that it promotes better skin, less wrinkles on their face, healthier joints, or whatever. Now, some people take it because they want to put muscle on. That's actually a terrible idea. I can make a video on that later if you want. But they started eating more parts of the animal, drinking bone broth, using collagen powder. That's all great. There is nothing wrong with that, depending on your goal. But just consuming more collagen doesn't mean your body has to use it for the purposes you want. You have no direct conscious control over that, because those aminos typically just get tossed into circulation with all the other amino acids in your system from all the other proteins that you've been eating. That's called the free amino acid pool. And from that pool, your body will string up whatever sequence of amino acids it needs to build whatever protein structure it thinks you need. And even if it is collagen, collagen makes up around 30% of the human body. So maybe your body prioritizes tissues more vital to life and decides to use them to replace the lining of your stomach instead of the wrinkles on your face. You see what I'm saying? All right, so let's talk about these new studies. 2 in particular, both have the same lead researcher, and both are double-blind, randomized control trials using middle-age, resistance-trained participants, which is where a hole in the research has always been. They were all male for the record, but what I really love about the study is that they were not industry funded. So it's not like some big collagen manufacturer funded these studies looking for a bias towards their new proprietary blend of collagen powder. You know, Collagen Max 5000 or some shit. All right, now don't worry, I'm not going to bore you with every detail of these studies. Unless you want that kind of video, then let me know and comment below. But in layman's terms, the first study was in 2024 and found two very significant things. First of all, like I mentioned earlier, it clearly showed that your typical short rep resistance training alone was not enough to elevate blood markers left behind by collagen synthesis. And by not enough, I mean a 0% rise from baseline. That really sucks. Now, anytime the body starts producing new collagen, it leaves a trail of breadcrumbs in your blood. So in the group that exercised alone, there was no rise in blood markers for collagen synthesis after a full workout on the leg press, I might add. However, the group that combined a little collagen cocktail with the leg press increased their breadcrumbs by approximately 76% from baseline. Now we're talking. And the second major finding was that the degree to which they stimulated collagen synthesis was dose dependent. So if you want to maximize this process, then the dose matters, which we'll get into in a minute. So based on these findings, the second study in 2025 said, okay, now we know how to trigger collagen production, but does that result in changes of a specific tendon? Otherwise, that's kind of like making a business deal based on a verbal agreement. It might help, it might not. So the second study was designed and published in 2025 to answer that question. It was a 12-week study targeting patellar tendons, also using middle-aged exercise males. They had both groups resistance train twice per week. The control group was given a placebo drink, so no collagen of any kind. And the experimental group was given a drink that actually had collagen in it, a specific type. Long story short, both groups got physically stronger, as you would expect. However, only the collagen group had significantly greater tendon remodeling across the board. And by tendon remodeling, I mean they experienced up to a 6 times greater growth of the tendon's cross-sectional area. The tendon literally got bigger. Not only that, the tendon material improved over the other group by up to 2 to 3 times as much, meaning at the microscopic level, they had new organized type 1 collagen fibers, which by default makes them structurally superior. And that was verified by testing the tendon's stiffness, which is its ability to withstand being pulled apart. Okay, key takeaway number 1. What form of collagen appears to be the most effective? And the answer is hydrolyzed collagen. Not only is that what these studies used, but pretty much any study you find across the board on tendon remodeling uses hydrolyzed collagen powder and occasionally gelatin. But hydrolyzed collagen powder is typically the go-to. And there's a few reasons for that. First of all, in general, powder is just easier to accurately measure and dose than it is to have people chew the gristle off a bone. So that makes sense. But they could have used non-hydrolyzed powder, and they don't. And that's because hydrolyzed collagen is also way more bioavailable and predictable than gelatin or collagen in its whole form. Hydrolysis really breaks down those collagen peptides so your digestive system doesn't have to, which means the amino acids we want are delivered into the system like that. As it turns out, that rapid delivery is incredibly important because spiking those aminos is part of the rescuing mechanism for signaling collagen synthesis. That is huge. That is a game changer for all of us. But hang on, this is important. These two studies, along with pretty much all of the others, also enrich their collagen drinks with vitamin C because vitamin C is a critical cofactor for collagen synthesis. It actually converts certain aminos into a different form for stability. So if the building blocks of collagen were concrete bricks, then vitamin C would kind of be like the activating agent in the mortar. It's really what binds it all together. You ever heard of scurvy? Right? Pirates and sailors with bleeding gums, thin skin, severe illness. As the story goes, they're out to sea for a long period of time without fruits and vegetables. They develop a deficiency and their collagen structures start breaking down. Although I know of a few carnivores that would beg to differ. And just for the record, manganese, zinc, copper, those are also required for collagen synthesis. But that doesn't mean that you automatically need to go out and start buying a bunch of supplements. You may already have enough in your diet already. But since the studies did include vitamin C, so will I. All right, key takeaway number 2. What appears to be the most effective dosage? So like I mentioned earlier, that initial 2024 study was the first to clearly demonstrate that the rate of collagen synthesis is a dose-dependent mechanism. And they did that by testing 3 different groups with 3 different amounts. 0 grams, which did nothing. 15 grams of hydrolyzed collagen with 50 milligrams of vitamin C. And 15 grams did make a meaningful increase. But 30 grams made a much more significant impact than 15 did. Now hang on before you start inhaling copious amounts of collagen like a whale shark. Anything over 30 grams seems to be the point of diminishing returns. We basically have a biological handicap to a certain extent, meaning there's a bit of a bottleneck when it comes to having enough enzymes to help move this process along. The same goes for muscle protein synthesis. Trust me, if eating 1,000 grams of protein a day meant more muscle, I would do it, but it does not, and definitely don't do that. With that said, the 12-week-long follow-up study in 2025 only used 30 grams of hydrolyzed collagen with the same 50 milligrams of vitamin C. All right, last but not least, key takeaway number 3. What appears to be the best timing strategy to maximize this process? Now, the purpose of timing is to simply overlap the mechanical signal from the workout with the nutritional signal from the amino acid spike, just like I and many of you probably already do with our protein shake around our workout. Different aminos, different tissue, different video. So an efficient workout alerts the tendon, basically screaming, hey, wake up, it's time to rock and roll. The stem cells open their eyes, look up, and are getting blasted with all the building blocks it can handle. That is when the tendon says, all right, let's go. So in regards to overlapping these signals, just know that the aminos were shown to peak in the blood within 40 to 60 minutes after ingestion and then remained elevated for 2 to 4 hours after that. And we know from previous research that the mechanical signal from a workout can stay strong for like up to 4 hours, maybe more, and then decays over time. Now, the first study gave it to them 30 to 60 minutes pre-workout, and the second study gave it to them 5 minutes post-workout. Are we splitting hairs here? Probably. Just don't dump salted caramel-flavored collagen powder in your coffee in the morning if you aren't going to work out for 4 more hours. You see what I'm saying? I do want to point out that it was the second study that actually measured real tendon changes instead of just elevated blood markers. But based on this research, it appears that taking 30 grams of hydrolyzed collagen with a little vitamin C, anywhere from 30 minutes before the workout to 30 minutes after, should do a damn good job of rescuing our stupid middle-aged little signal problem. Now, what I really want to see is a new collagen/tendon remodeling study comparing the effects of regular resistance training versus long-duration, high-intensity mechanical loading. That would be sick. And if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, you can check it out right here. Thank you for watching. Be safe, and I'll see you on the next one.